He walked into the Tesla showroom with nothing but a wrinkled notebook and a promise to keep. No fancy watch, no credit card in hand, just quiet eyes and a worn-out voice. For over an hour, the sales staff pretended he didn't exist. Then everything changed, because the man watching from the corner, the one in the baseball cap, sipping coffee like a regular guy, wasn't regular at all. It was Elon Musk. And what he did next didn't just shock the entire showroom. It started a ripple effect that would touch millions. What began as one old man's quiet wish for his grandson would lead to a global medical breakthrough, a viral legacy, and a moment that would make the world stop and say, wait, this really happened? If you think this is just another feel-good story, think again. This is a story about how the world's richest man dropped everything for a retired bus driver with terminal cancer because of a boy's dream and a grandfather's promise. And by the end, you'll understand why this may be one of the most unforgettable acts of kindness you've ever seen. Stay with us. You're not going to believe where this goes. The glass door slid open with a soft hiss and he stepped inside. Nobody turned to look. Why would they? He was old, wore a faded button-up tucked into pressed khakis, shoes that had clearly walked through decades of hard living. In one hand, he clutched a thin, dog-eared notebook. In the other, nothing. No phone, no luxury watch, no swagger. Just stillness and hope. Franklin Carter didn't come to the Tesla Experience Center in Tucson to buy a car. He came to keep a promise. He walked slowly, eyes scanning the bright showroom. The Teslas gleamed like spacecraft under the halogen lights. Sales associates swarmed like bees around polished professionals and sharply dressed couples. Franklin drifted through them like a shadow. At the reception desk, he paused. "Excuse me," he said, his voice quiet but clear. "I was hoping someone could show me the Model 3. The receptionist looked up briefly. Her smile didn't reach her eyes. "Someone will be with you shortly," she said flatly, then turned back to her screen. Franklin stepped aside. He waited. 10 minutes, then 20, then 40. Salespeople glanced at him, but none approached. He tried to catch a few eyes, raised a hand once or twice. Nothing. As if the mere sight of him didn't compute, didn't match their profile of a buyer. In the far corner of the showroom, someone else was watching. He wore a black baseball cap, jeans, and a hoodie. He looked like any other curious customer, but he wasn't. Elon Musk took a slow sip of his coffee, eyes narrowing as he observed the old man being overlooked again and again. He wasn't here for a press event. No media, no bodyguards. Today was different. He was here to disappear and see how people were really treated when no one knew they were being watched. What he saw next changed everything. Franklin Carter, now an hour in, had made 3 slow laps around the showroom. He'd studied each model, taking careful notes in his weathered notebook. At one point, he sat on a bench, adjusted his glasses, then stood again, trying once more to catch a salesperson's attention. Ignored. Finally, he let out a long breath, closed his notebook, and turned toward the door. That's when Elon stood up. "Sir?" he called. Franklin turned, blinking. "Yes? Were you looking for someone to help you?" Elon walked over, voice warm and easy. "I was," Franklin said, surprised. "But I've taken enough of your time. I should probably go." "I've got time," Elon said. "Name's Ed." Franklin offered his hand. "Franklin Carter. Good to meet you. You said you were interested in the Model 3? Franklin's eyes lit up. "It's beautiful. I've seen pictures, but seeing it in person is something else." "Well, let's make it real," Elon said, gesturing him forward. As they approached the vehicle, Franklin moved like someone approaching something sacred. He didn't touch the paint, just hovered his hand near it, reverent. "Would you like to sit inside?" Elon asked. Franklin hesitated, as if afraid someone might stop him. "Go ahead," Elon smiled. The old man eased himself into the seat, both hands gripping the steering wheel gently. "My grandson Noah would go absolutely nuts right now," he said. "He's obsessed with Teslas, has posters of your cars on his wall, watches all the videos." "Sounds like a smart kid," Elon said, leaning on the doorframe. "He into clean energy too?" "Everything," Franklin nodded. "Solar panels, electric cars, space. Says you're going to save the planet. Calls you Captain Elon. Elon chuckled, then studied the old man more closely. So, is the car for him? Franklin's smile faded slightly. No, I can't afford a car like this. I was a school bus driver for 40 years. I just came to see it. Maybe take a few photos. He patted his notebook. I've been saving up, hoping I could rent one for the day, just long enough to give him a ride when I visit him this August. A pause, then something quieter. I might not make it to August. Doctors say I've got maybe 4 months. Lung cancer, terminal. Elon didn't say anything for a beat. The air seemed to still. Franklin cleared his throat, tried to lighten the mood. But don't feel bad. I've had a good life, and I made Noah a promise that he'd get to ride in a Tesla before I go. I just want him to know his grandpa believes in the future he believes in. Elon looked away, jaw tightening. Of all the people he'd met, presidents, astronauts, Nobel Prize winners, this man was the one reminding him why he'd started any of this to begin with. Let me show you the touchscreen, Elon said softly. You'll want to explain this to Noah. They spent the next 20 minutes exploring the car. Franklin took detailed notes, his excitement returning in waves. Then a sharp voice cut through the moment. Excuse me, a man snapped. What do you think you're doing? A salesman with slick-back hair and a pressed suit approached, his eyes locked on Franklin. His name tag read Chad. These displays are for serious customers, Chad said coolly, not just for sitting around. Franklin started. He's with me, Elon interrupted. Chad barely glanced at him. Sir, we have actual buyers waiting. Elon straightened. You should be careful who you talk to like that. And who exactly are you? Chad asked. Elon reached up and slowly removed his baseball cap. The color drained from Chad's face. I'm Elon Musk, he said calmly. I own this company. The silence was immediate and total. A phone dropped somewhere. A gasp echoed off the walls. Chad stammered. Mr. Musk, I didn't realize. No, Elon replied, voice colder now. You didn't. That's the problem. He turned to Franklin. Mr. Carter, would you mind stepping into my office? Franklin's mouth opened, then closed. He stood slowly. Of course. The two men walked together, leaving behind the buzzing whispers, the recording phones, and the stunned faces. Inside the private meeting room, Franklin sat down. Elon pulled out his phone and texted one line to his assistant. Make this happen. Everything. Flights, hotel, medical, his family too. Then he looked up. I want to invite you to our headquarters in California, Elon said. Not just for a tour. We're going to create an experience for your grandson that he'll never forget. Franklin's eyes widened. Mr. Musk, I can't accept something like that. You're not accepting a gift, Elon said. You're helping me remember why I built this company in the first place. Franklin's voice cracked. Why me? Because the world sees power in money, but the real power is keeping a promise, even when time's running out. That night, as the Arizona sun sank beneath the desert horizon, Franklin Carter sat outside on his porch, watching the sky turn gold. For the first time since his diagnosis, he didn't feel like he was counting days. He felt like something was about to begin, and he had no idea just how far this promise would go. What would you do if you were in Elon Musk's shoes that day? Would you have noticed the man no one else did? Have you ever made a promise you'd move mountains to keep? Tell us in the comments. And now the Arizona sun had barely risen when a sleek black Tesla pulled up outside a modest one-story house in the quiet suburbs of Tucson. The street was still, neighbors sipping coffee on porches, unaware that inside this small home, something extraordinary was unfolding. Franklin Carter stood on his front step with a small suitcase in one hand and his old notebook in the other. His breath was shallow, but his eyes sparkled with something electric. Hope. A woman stood beside him, brushing invisible lint from his collar. You sure you packed your sweater? She asked. Marilyn, Franklin smiled. I'm going to California, not the Arctic. She gave him a playful scowl. You're going to meet Elon Musk. You bring the sweater. Franklin chuckled. Yes, ma'am. The rear door of the Tesla opened, and a young man in scrubs stepped out. Jack Thompson, the flight nurse assigned by Elon's personal team. He gave Franklin a warm smile and offered his arm. Mr. Carter, ready to go? As ready as I'll ever be, Franklin said. squeezing Marilyn's hand one last time. "Tell Noah I'm on my way." Inside the Tesla, everything was quiet. Jack sat beside Franklin and monitored his vitals discreetly. The road to the private airstrip was smooth. The jet, when it appeared, didn't look like anything Franklin had ever imagined. Sleek, silver, bearing the unmistakable Tesla logo on the tail. It wasn't just a plane, it was a message. This matters. As Franklin was helped aboard, he paused at the door, staring at the horizon. "This is for you, Noah," he whispered, then stepped into a new chapter of his life. Meanwhile, across the country in Charleston, South Carolina, 12-year-old Noah Carter clutched his backpack and looked out the airport window with wide eyes. "Is Grandpa really coming too?" he asked for the 5th time. His mother, Emily, nodded patiently. "He's already on the plane, sweetheart. We'll meet him in California." Noah looked doubtful. "But he's sick." Emily paused. "Yes, honey, he is. But Mr. Musk is making sure he travels safely. And you know Grandpa, he wouldn't miss this for anything." Noah turned back to the window. "I hope he kept his notebook. He always writes everything down." Emily smiled, though her heart was tight. Of course he did. By that evening, 2 private flights touched down within minutes of each other at a secure airfield near Tesla's Silicon Valley campus. First came Franklin, assisted gently down the steps by Jack and a small medical team. He was tired, but not too tired to smile when he spotted Elon Musk waiting at the bottom of the stairs. "You didn't have to come," Franklin said. Elon stepped forward and shook his hand. "Yes, I did." 15 minutes later, Noah's plane arrived. Franklin stood at the edge of the hangar, hands trembling more than usual. Not from the illness, but from anticipation. When Noah stepped off the aircraft and spotted him, the boy froze. Then, like a shot, he sprinted across the tarmac and threw his arms around his grandfather. "You made it," Noah whispered, squeezing tight. "I knew you would." Franklin held him close. "Told you I keep my promises." The next morning, the family woke in the penthouse suite of a luxury hotel overlooking the Pacific. The view alone was worth the trip. But what waited just a few miles inland was something else entirely. A black SUV picked them up at 9 a.m. sharp. Inside, Elon greeted them personally. "I hope you're all ready," he said, "because today we're breaking a few rules." Franklin raised an eyebrow. "That's supposed to reassure me?" Elon laughed. "It's supposed to excite Noah." Noah grinned. It worked. The vehicle rolled through Tesla's secured gates. Instead of stopping at the visitor center, they kept driving to a white, angular building marked restricted access, authorized personnel only. They exited into a quiet corridor. Elon led them to a pair of tall, black double doors. "I want to show you something we've been working on," he said, resting his palm on a scanner. With a soft hiss, the doors opened. Inside stood a brand new Tesla Model 3. But not just any Model 3. It was painted a stunning iridescent blue, with a design running along the sides that looked like glowing green circuitry. At the center of it all, spelled in stylized electric lettering, was Noah's name. Noah gasped. "That's for me?" "It's more than just a car," Elon said. "It's your classroom, your laboratory, and your future." The boy circled the car in awe. Franklin watched, his eyes brimming. "And this is just the beginning," Elon continued. "We've outfitted the vehicle with solar-powered modules, self-learning AI systems, and a digital log that you can build on over time. You won't just drive this car one day, you'll grow with it." Emily's hands covered her mouth. "I don't know what to say." "Say it's just the beginning," Elon said softly, "because it is." They spent the rest of the morning exploring the lab. Elon introduced Noah to a team of engineers and designers. They showed him how the circuits were printed, how the energy system functioned, how AI was being used to teach sustainability to kids like him. Meanwhile, Franklin sat off to the side, quietly watching. Jack leaned in. "Feeling okay?" Franklin nodded. "Better than I have in months." And then, with sudden clarity, he understood why. It wasn't about the car. It was about this. The look on his grandson's face, the spark in his eyes, the possibility. Noah ran over suddenly and threw his arms around him again. "This is the best day of my life." Franklin smiled, the weight of illness momentarily forgotten. "Then it's mine too." That night, as they sat by the hotel window, watching the ocean turn to ink, Noah opened his tablet and began sketching a new solar array. Franklin watched in silence. A tear slid down his cheek, not from sadness, but from knowing he'd made it. He'd kept his promise. And something told him, this was only the beginning. If you had the power to make someone's dream come true, would you do it even if you had nothing to gain? Continue. It happened without warning. 3 days after Noah received the surprise of a lifetime, Franklin Carter woke up gasping for air. The oxygen tank at his bedside hissed weakly, but the pain in his chest was sharper than before. Hot, unrelenting. He pressed the emergency call button, and within seconds, Jack burst into the room. "Mr. Carter, stay with me," Jack said urgently, attaching new tubes, adjusting monitors. "You're going to be okay." But Franklin knew. This wasn't like the last few times. This time felt different. Within an hour, he was rushed to a nearby hospital where tests confirmed what he feared. The cancer had spread. Fast. His lungs were struggling. His heart was under strain. The experimental treatment had bought time, but not a miracle. Emily sat by his bedside, holding his hand while trying not to cry. "Dad," she whispered, "we'll be okay. I'll tell Noah gently." "No," Franklin rasped. "I'll tell him. I still have one more thing to do." Later that evening, in a quiet room filled with machines and shadows, Elon Musk arrived. He didn't come as the CEO of Tesla or the billionaire visionary. He came as a man who'd made a promise. Franklin looked up from the hospital bed. "It's almost time, isn't it?" Elon nodded slowly. "We can't stop it, Franklin, but we can finish this right." Franklin reached for his notebook. "Then let me drive the car, just once, with Noah." Elon didn't hesitate. "Tomorrow morning, one final ride." At sunrise, the black Tesla Model 3 rolled out of the hotel garage. Modified for accessibility, it had been specially fitted with a system that allowed Franklin, even in his condition, to guide the car with minimal physical effort. Noah sat in the passenger seat, hands folded, eyes wide with anticipation and fear. Emily rode behind them with Jack, who kept a close eye on his patient's vitals. Franklin took a shaky breath and placed his hand on the wheel. "Ready, co-pilot?" he asked with a weak smile. Noah nodded. "Always." They pulled onto a quiet coastal road just as the sun spilled golden light over the Pacific. The Tesla glided forward, silent and effortless. For a while, there was only the sound of waves and wind in tires on pavement. Then Noah broke the silence. "Are you scared, Grandpa?" Franklin didn't answer right away. He focused on the road, the feeling of freedom in his hands. "I'm not scared of what's coming," he said at last. "I'm scared of not being there to see you change the world." Noah's voice cracked. "But I don't want you to go." "I know," Franklin whispered, "but I need you to remember something. Everything I've taught you, everything we've done, it doesn't end with me. It begins with you." He reached into his coat pocket and pulled out the Tesla key fob. "These are yours now." Noah shook his head. "I'm not old enough to drive." "Not yet," Franklin said. "But one day you'll drive farther than I ever could. Just promise me something." "Anything. Use this car. Use what you've been given. Not for showing off, not for status, but for purpose, for the future." Noah nodded, eyes shining with tears. "I promise." They pulled over at a scenic overlook where the cliffs met the sea. The sun was climbing higher now, setting the sky ablaze. Franklin opened the door slowly, stepping out with Jack's help. Oxygen tank secure, feet unsteady, he stood at the edge of the road and looked out over the ocean. Emily joined him. "It's beautiful," she said, voice soft. "It is," Franklin agreed. "So is everything we've built here." Elon arrived moments later, watching silently from a few steps behind. Franklin turned toward him. "I have one last question." "Go ahead." "Why me? Why did you do all this for an old bus driver?" Elon didn't hesitate. "Because the world doesn't change from the top down. It changes from the heart out. You reminded me of that." Franklin looked out over the horizon again. The waves rolled endlessly below, and then he smiled. He had done it. He had kept his promise. 3 weeks later, a video went viral online. A 12-year-old boy stood on a stage at a school auditorium, presenting a project titled Solar Power, the Future of Our Planet. Behind him, a slideshow of his late grandfather flashed across the screen. Driving the Tesla, speaking at Tesla HQ, smiling beside Elon Musk. The final slide read, "In memory of Franklin Carter." He believed in the future, even when his own was fading. At the end of the presentation, Noah lifted a small wooden box, the same one Elon had once handed to Franklin. Inside was a flash drive containing every detail of the experimental cancer treatment Franklin had tested. "This," Noah told the audience, "is the start of something bigger. It's not just about what my grandpa left behind. It's about what we do with it." That day, donations poured in from around the world. The Franklin Carter Foundation was born, dedicated to sustainable innovation and accessible cancer research. And far beyond the reach of cameras or applause, a boy sat in the back of his Tesla, looking out the window at the road ahead, still grieving, but no longer lost. Because he carried the future with him, and the promise still echoed in his heart. And you, what did this story mean to you? Did it move you, inspire you, or bring back a memory of someone you've loved deeply? Type 3 in the comments if it touched your heart. Type 2 if you thought it was okay. Type 1 if it didn't really connect with you. And tell us, what country are you watching from right now? If this story meant something to you, share it. Because maybe, just maybe, someone out there needs to be reminded that promises still matter, that kindness still exists, and that even when time is short, legacy is forever.